All right, we are live on Facebook. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Let's go ahead and start this meetup. It's 6:01, so let's go ahead and start. Savannah, why don't you introduce yourself here?
All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Savannah Arroyo. I am a registered nurse. Alex and I started the Healthcare Professionals and Facebook Investing Group because we're healthcare professionals wanting to educate other healthcare professionals and really other people in general about the amazing benefits of real estate investing. I started investing in single family homes beginning of 2020. I was just on maternity leave with my second daughter looking for another way to build wealth. Started in that and right now then moved into multifamily syndication, so that's what I'm doing now. And I also started Net Worth Nurse, and it's an really kind of a resource for nurses on investing and how to grow wealth and build in their career and invest in real estate. So yeah, Alex, I will let you introduce yourself.
Hey, we're recording, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's one of the things I always forget. I always forget
Got
to hit
you.
record. So, hey everyone. Hey everyone. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for joining us. We're healthcare professionals investing in real estate. That's our Facebook group. My name is Alex Sabio. I'm a respiratory therapist, and I invest in short-term rentals. And I pay zero in taxes. And it's been amazing for us. Anyway, really excited to be here today. We have an amazing guest today. Dr. L. Don Wilson. He's a retired dentist who's now building luxury short-term rentals in the Smoky Mountains. How the hell does that happen? You go from the dentist, now you're building stuff. But anyway, without further ado, I don't want to steal any of his thunder here. Thank you, Dr. Wilson, for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure, Alex. Thank you for inviting me to be on this evening, and hello to everyone. Alex asked me as we were starting, like what he just mentioned, how in the world did you go from being a cosmetic and laser dentist to building in Gatlinburg? And throughout our career, my wife and I enjoy building. And so we would build a house and live in it for a couple of years, up to 5 years maybe. And then while it was still in really good shape and very marketable, we would sell it and build another one. So through the years, we built several houses and commercial buildings and things like that. And so when I retired in 2016, we had actually started looking in Gatlinburg about 2013 and bought some land, some lots. And so we built one for ourselves, and then we just sort of started from there. And we sort of were in the right place at the right time, and started building cabins, and the opportunity opened up in Mountain Shadows where we have 25 lots in there to build on. And then we bought some property that's going to be a new development. So I told Alex, it's just, it's fun. It's a lot less stressful than dentistry. And I don't have to fool with insurance companies, and we just have a good time doing it.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a crazy story, right? 2013. Did you think in 2013, when you got into this, that it would blossom to where it is today? Or did you think you would just dabble into something?
I would love to tell you that I'm so smart, I saw that coming, but I would be lying. And so it was just a right place, right time. And no, I absolutely didn't see it coming. We were coming out of the after effects of '08.
Right. Yeah.
And the thing that got me started up there, I was able to acquire 11 lots that were in foreclosure at a really good price and a really good development. And that just sort of piqued my interest. And then after 2016, you could see that things were improving. There was an eagerness to be there. Guests coming into Gatlinburg were growing. In case you guys don't know, Gatlinburg is now the #1 destination in the US and #5 in the world, according to V-Trips. We'll have 14 million visitors there this year. And it's just a phenomenal place with great opportunity. But no, I didn't see it coming, and I didn't see this thing just growing exponentially as it is now. It's a fantastic market.
Yeah,
And
because
continues to
Airbnb,
climb.
right? Airbnb really wasn't a thing then, right? 2013, or maybe it was like extremely early in the phase, right?
Yeah, very, very low. I would say that at that time, in 2013 to 16, somewhere along in there, almost everybody was with a rental company, and I know that a lot of you guys self-manage, and so there weren't that many people that were doing self-managed then.
Right. So talk about like, what are the challenges with building? I mean, I get this question a lot. Like, you know, it's so difficult to find a cabin to buy in the Smokies. It's almost impossible. Why not just buy land and then build something? What does that process look like? Because I tell people, man, it's not as easy as you think. It's going to be a nightmare. Even for the people that know what they're doing, it's an absolute nightmare. So,
Yeah, that's a great question, Alex. The problem that you encounter is finding subs. We have a great group of subs. If I could build 100 cabins tomorrow, we'd have them sold within 12 to 48 hours, believe me. But we are not going to start using subs that are poor quality and won't show up and won't do the job right. And so we're limited by that. And to try to run that from a distance is very difficult. You guys probably don't know this. My wife and I are in Seattle because my wife was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And we came out here in Seattle for treatment with Dr. Nick Chin, who's famous for his survival rate of pancreatic cancer. But so I'm running the job from Seattle. And even though I have great subs and they know me and I know them and we're working together good, it's much more difficult than when I'm in Gatlinburg. So we're out here for about 6 weeks. And so during that 6 weeks time, I've noticed it's become more difficult for me to handle things than when I'm actually there. But for you to live in California and go out and acquire subs and depend on them to show up and guide them through the process, it would be very, very difficult.
hey, so thoughts and prayers with you and your family. I know this is really tough, and I know your wishes were to move on with life as if it's normal. So I'm respecting those wishes, because I was like, I don't feel comfortable doing this, but if that's, and I totally get it, that's really what we want to do. So we're gonna respect that. So
But my wife and I, she's doing great, by the way. We've been so blessed, and we haven't altered our plans whatsoever. We have 3 cabins. We have 2 ready to start immediately, a third one that will come up soon, and then another one right after that. So we're going right along with our plans, and we think she'll do fine. So I'll talk to you guys a little bit about new construction. There's some benefits to that. And when I say new construction, let me qualify. New construction to me would mean something that's 5 years old or less. I mean, we build cabins, and so people buy them from us brand new. But when you buy a new cabin, you avoid maintenance issues for one thing. I mean, right off of the bat, if you're buying an older property, and so many of them in Gatlinburg that I'm hearing really big numbers on are 10, 15, maybe 20 years old. Believe me, there will be problems with a 10 to 15 to 20-year-old cabin. There just will be. It's going to have some maintenance issues. It's going to have some structural issues. And so you need to be prepared for that. And if you're paying big bucks per square foot for that 20-year-old cabin, be prepared to then turn around and put a lot more money into it to bring it up to par and make it something that you'd want to your renters to live in. And also there's going to be some reno cost. I mean, I don't know, it's hard to know what you'd have to do, but HVAC units after 10, 15, certainly 20 years are going to need to be replaced if they haven't been replaced. With a new cabin, you get warranties. I mean, we issue a 1-year warranty with our cabins. And so many of the things that are in the cabin, appliances, et cetera, HVAC units, they'll have an extended warranty, which from the manufacturer, which might be 5 years. So my model that I've used is to go in and build a cabin and keep it for 2 years or greater, then do a 1031 like-kind exchange. And while the cabin's still in great shape and I'm not worried about any issues or anything like that, we go ahead and sell it, and then we build another one and just follow that pattern. And I told Alex we invested about $500,000 in 2015 in Gatlinburg, and that's now grown to about $5 million over that period of time, just amazing. By following that market. Renters search for new
so even just like a new construction, right? I mean, you're talking about how difficult it is to manage. I mean, if you're going to buy an older cabin that's going to need $40,000 or something like that and work, shoot, you might as well just bought a brand new cabin that was ready to go.
That's my suggestion to folks. And again, I'm not on here so we can pitch our cabins, guys. We have people waiting in line to buy cabins. Selling it is just not a problem for us. Building them, getting them ready fast enough is the problem. But yeah, if you got to reno a cabin, sometimes it's harder to find subs that want to go in and renovate than it is to build new. I personally, my wife and I built lots of houses and buildings through the years. And I think there's only one time, twice we bought an existing home and did some reno work on it. And I found that a lot more difficult than I did new construction. And so to find people to come in and clean up an existing problem or a mess, it's a little difficult, yes.
Do you find that the newer cabins rent out better than the older cabins, or what's your take on this?
Absolutely, I think that they do. I mean, I'll tell you something. If I'm going somewhere and I'm going to rent a cabin or a house or something like that, I look at the age of it. I mean, if it's 20 years old, it's going to be 20 years old. So I personally look for new build type cabins if I'm going to be the renter. And I think that people search those out. There's something to be said about a cabin that's got a track record where renters return to that each year. That's true. But renters in Gatlinburg are becoming much more savvy, and they're more trendy now, and they're looking for new, they're looking for clean, and they're looking for more modern, I think. We have to build a log cabin in mountain shadows. It's required that the first level be or logs. It doesn't have to be D-log, but it's required to be log. And then the second floor can be stick build. And so we do that because we have to in there. But once we finish in this development, we're going to go to more modern looking structures and not necessarily log. And we're getting away from log furniture and little wooden bears everywhere. Nothing wrong with that. There are people that really like that and they look for that. But the more trend, the newer trend is to go with more modern, more clean.
I agree with that. That's kind of what I look for. And, you know, I think with the Smoky Mountains, supply and demand are heavily on your side. There's just so many people and there's not enough places to stay. Right. And people just want something clean. They want something convenient and they want it looking nice. I mean, there are going to be people that are looking for those log cabins.
Yes.
I think that's some minority.
Another thing you might want to think about when you're considering a purchase in the Gatlinburg area, in the South, we deal with heat and humidity a lot. And it's in these older cabins, you're going to have to watch for mold, mildew, and crawl spaces and things like that. And so you can just almost bet that an older cabin is going to have mold, mildew issues of some sort that you as the new owner will need to deal with. So that's another reason for maybe going with new construction. Any questions on anything so far that I've talked about? I'll tell you some things then that I would look for in whatever kind of a cabin you're buying, whether it's an older cabin, 10 years old or new, but look at the crawl space. A lot of them have crawl spaces underneath them. We build a conditioned crawl space. In other words, we don't have side vents that ventilate underneath there. It's completely closed up. And you put a return in there and you empty some air from your HVA system in there so that you have a little bit of airflow in that crawl space, and it gets rid of the humidity and keeps down the mold and mildew and that sort of thing. So if you're buying an existing cabin, look at their crawl space. Be very, very careful about that. Another thing we do, and look for this too in construction, whether it's new or existing, foundation walls. Nothing in Gatlinburg is level. It just isn't. And so the foundation walls are critical. And you want to look at, we use ICF blocks, which are like styrofoam blocks, and they're reinforced inside with rebar, and they're filled with concrete. And you get a great wall that way, a great insulated wall that way, as opposed to concrete block or empty concrete block. I also told Alex, we build only in the city limits of Gatlinburg. So we don't have to contend with well water, with septic tanks, and with either propane gas or no gas at all. We have access to sewer, to water, and to natural gas. And that's a big plus. Renters and septic tanks and well water and propane gas just don't go together very well, because your renters can demand more water than your well can supply sometimes, or they can put more into your septic system than it was designed to take, and can give you some problems from that standpoint too. I know I heard Alex say this one time when I was listening to him, and it's very true. People were worried about buying cabins in Gatlinburg, and they were looking for a view. And when my wife and I first went up there, we told the real estate agent we were working with, we would like a really nice view, and we'd like a stream running beside it. And we had all these things, and we look back on that. Well, you can't get all those things in the same cabin. And we think in the long run that renters will go for convenience over view every time in the long run. Now, the first time renters that come to Gatlinburg might want the grandiose view, and they might want to reside on the top of a mountain and be able to look out. And it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I love that. But sometimes you have to go up these ridiculous roads to get there. And weather is an issue in Gatlinburg. And after they have to travel 20 minutes or 30 minutes or greater on some little bitty, I call them pig trails. After they have to do that a time or two to go to the grocery store or to go to the restaurant, all of a sudden they wish they'd rented that cabin down lower that was close to everything in the city. So I think in the long run that convenience trumps view.
I agree with that. I think, you're traveling with family and small kids, and the view is pretty cool. But if you have to drive down to all the activities and restaurants back and forth, it's a pain in the butt. And that's how I felt the first time I was there. So,
yep. So your first time renters might be looking for that, but your second, third, and we have so many repeat renters in Gatlinburg. I mean, for some people, it's like an annual event, maybe a couple of times a year event. It's like a trip to Mecca. They just have to go there, and they do the same things over and over again. They just love it. It's such a beautiful area. But those seasoned renters will go for convenience after a while. They like it better.
Hey, Don, there's a couple questions
yes,
dropped in the chat. I don't know if you can see them, but I can also read it to you. How do you build the cabin you are 1031ing into? Thought it needed to be owned by someone else.
Yeah, we have to do some steps to go around that, and I have a good 1031 attorney, and you do have to kind of do that at arm's length. So we have a company that builds it for us, and then we buy it from that company.
I already got a solution for the problem. I love it. Mm-hmm. There's always loopholes like that. I seem to find out when I'm doing real estate stuff. Thanks for the information. I hear a lot of discussion saying that the rental and average daily occupancy over the past 2 years is overly inflated by as much as 20%, with the cost of cabins in the Smokies skyrocketing. Would you be cautious about utilizing air DNA rates from 2020 and 2021?
No, I don't really see them going down. I see them staying. COVID, let me give you guys a little thought here. COVID helped Gatlinburg area. That sounds a little bit strange, I guess, in some ways. It did shut things down for a couple of months in the beginning where none of us knew exactly what to expect. But in the long run, it helped us because, one, most of the activities outside are outside in Gatlinburg. Two, people can stay in cabins versus hotels. And Gatlinburg is within driving distance, defined as a day-and-a-half drive of 2/3 of the population of the US. So COVID really helped us. And that's one of the reasons it's boosted prices. But I see them staying there. I mean, of course, anything could happen, but we don't, in the foreseeable future, we don't see any big changes on that.
That's funny. I feel like that kind of happened in LA, like with people in LA realizing like, okay, COVID shut everything down. Let's go vacation in Palm Springs and let's go
Right.
vacation in Joshua Tree. And now it's like all of a sudden people from LA are going to these places and their Airbnb population is just growing like crazy. Someone asked, what would you recommend would be the best to prevent foundation or mold mildew issues? Would crawl space, dehumidifier, or commercial dehumidifier be good choices for prevention?
Well, if you've got a ventilated crawl space, there are things that you can do to help minimize that. One is to put some fans underneath there that pull air in from outside, temperature regulators on your dampers that open and close those dampers during certain times of the year. Like in the winter at a certain temperature, you want those things to close down so you're not getting that cold air underneath your cabin in your crawl space. You definitely want good coverage of if it's a crawl space, there's going to be dirt underneath there. So you definitely want plastic down over that, good clean plastic, and turn it up on the walls. Again, we don't build like that. We do a conditioned crawl space, so we just don't have those issues. In fact, on the cabins that we build, we don't even have to put insulation underneath the main floor if there's a crawl space underneath there. Like we're getting ready to start too, and they will have crawl spaces in them. And we will not have to insulate because the crawl space is conditioned. Therefore, we don't have to insulate. Therefore, you don't get mildew, soggy, wet insulation underneath your floor.
Yeah, that I invest primarily in Oregon, and it's the same thing. It's so wet and mildew. And one of the first buildings we bought, we had to completely replace the insulation under the forest place for one whole building. And we actually just received our first legal lawsuit in multifamily space. Like, yeah, I feel like we've earned a badge of honor. And it's because of mold. One of the tenants had mold in the unit, and I think she was pregnant or had kids. And it was kind of a lack of communication with our property management team. And so we ended up just settling with them for, I think, like $7,000 or $4,000, I believe. So yeah, that's a sting.
That's fun.
Someone says, does it take a long time to get a permit to build a new cabin in Galinburg?
Not too terribly bad if you know what the steps are and you complete them in advance. We work with the city very closely, and we have a great reputation with the city. And I know the guys in the planning and building department and the inspectors and that sort of thing. So in order to present to the city, you have to have first architect stamp plans, of course. And then you have to have a foundation plan by an engineer. And then you have to have a site plan by an engineer. And then you have to do a thing called a res check, which is just a way to show that it's going to be energy efficient, and that sort of thing. And so you submit all of those things to the city, and it goes through pretty quickly. I think probably right now about 3 weeks is the turnaround time once you submit all of those things. If you piecemeal to the city and you don't have all the information in there, then it's going to take a long time until you give them what they need and ask for.
3 weeks isn't bad at all. Here we're in Southern California and you have to go through a lot of red tape. It seems like the issue with you is more the labor force, right? Like
it is.
Just can't get enough people to work for you.
Right.
Or quality people.
Enough and quality people. That's exactly right, Alex. That's our problem there, because we basically have just a single crew. I mean, I wish we could be running 3 and 4 crews if we had the people, but again, I'd rather have quality than quantity any day of the week.
And I think that's what separates you versus some builders. Some builders are just going to piece something together and then just fix it over time, where I think you're putting quality together.
Well, I'll tell you, we try to build every cabin like we're going to be the owner. Even some, like right now, my wife and I are building 2 cabins, getting ready to start a 3rd one that will belong to us personally. But we don't build those any differently than we do if we're building for someone else. And Matt Taylor told me on the one that was next to the one you visited, Alex, he said, Matt manages quite a few properties. And he said, we hadn't had any issues with the one you built for us. And he said, on the others, my clients buy new builds, and then, there's always something and they don't want to take care of it, et cetera. And so that was a big compliment for us. We really appreciated that.
Yeah, it's true. And for those of you guys that are on the Zoom call, I actually put a link of the one that Matt Taylor is actually managing. So that way you can see what his builds look like. One other thing, I always get the question that a bunch of people are going and buying in the Smoky Mountains, and is it getting oversaturated with too many cabins? And what I tell them is exactly what you're describing, is that they can't build them fast enough.
No.
There's so many people coming, and they're only building like 1-2 cabins at a time. So
yeah, the demand definitely overruns supply there. We lost in the 2016 fire, we lost about 2,500 cabins in Gatlinburg area. So it's taken a long time just to even think about rebuilding those cabins to get back where we were, much less the increased demand for cabins there. So no, the mayor of Gatlinburg is a personal friend of mine. I know a lot of people in the city of Gatlinburg, and I know the county mayor. They're all good friends of mine, and the area is doing a lot to prepare for growth. And one of the things that I always look at is I look at the big boys. And when I say the big boys, I mean people that are going to build multi-million dollar projects there, businesses that are coming in. For example, out at exit 407 off of I-40 coming into Gatlinburg, there is a major development going in out there right now, and it's going to be massive. And believe me, those guys do their research and homework before they invest in something like that. So the guys that are way bigger than me by any stretch of the imagination are telling me that the future is bright in Gatlinburg area. So I don't think you have to worry about that.
I think that's phenomenal advice. You look at somebody that already poured millions into market research, and then you could kind of just piggyback right behind them. Like almost like if a Starbucks is getting built in that community, you're like, oh, they know exactly what's happening. So
yes. So there are some really, really big things in the make right now that are coming into the area. And I know that those people spent, as you say, millions of dollars on market research before they made that decision.
Hey,
other questions?
Can you talk about pool cabins? Because that's kind of like a big thing going on right now, right? Like I have a pool cabin, and it is absolutely crushing it. Like it's phenomenal. I mean, this thing books left and right? And not only that, it books direct. Like I don't know how people are finding my website on Google amongst the other million websites out there, but they're booking direct because of these pool cabins. So can you talk a little bit about, like, should we all jump onto pool cabins? I mean, is there something that we should, look for?
I'm going to quote one thing back to you, Alex, that I heard you say once upon a time. I was on a meetup like this, and I heard you talking to somebody they wanted a view, and they wanted a pool, and they wanted this, and they wanted that. And I think your end remark was just buy a cabin in Gatlinburg and get started. And so don't necessarily hold out to get this, that, or the other. Just get a cabin and get started. They all make money. Believe me, they all make plenty of money. But Alex is exactly right. I mean, a pool cabin is the hot thing right now. And so people do want to buy pool cabins, but there's some things you need to watch for in that. I mean, if you're buying a pool cabin, make sure that it's constructed properly. And when I say that, gunite pools are fine. There's nothing wrong with gunite pools. We personally like fiberglass, but gunite pools are fine. You have to look at the drainage system around it. When people splash water out of the pool, they will. Where's that water going to go? Has it been drained properly? Does it have a moisture barrier around the room? Does it have wood in the room anywhere? Personally, we like concrete board everywhere. I've heard people tell horror stories about wood inside the pool room in a cabin. And I don't care how many coats of poly they put on it, eventually there's going to be a mold mildew problem in there. And then Alex was telling me about he's got an electric heater in his because they don't have gas there. That's one of the reasons we like to be in a natural gas community. That way we can use a natural gas heater, which heats it really quickly and that sort of thing. So there are things to look for in a pool room. You've got to have safety features on them. You have to have a lock on the door. You have to have a motion sensor on the pool such that if somebody threw a golf ball in there, that would set the alarm off, you know, that kind of a ripple. But boy, do they bring in the rental income. And I've heard numbers up to as much as 40% greater if the cabin has a pool. I don't know if that's true or not, but it is a big number that adds to that. So yeah, everybody wants a pool cabin right now. And as Alex, I don't own one. I will own one. We're doing the plans on a 4-4 with a pool in it right now that my wife and I are going to own. So check with me later about from the ownership standpoint, but I know that it brings the rental in, definitely.
Yeah, I love it and hate it at the same time. I love the money and I love how it stands out. But actually, one of the biggest things on top of the liability aspect of it is finding the right pool cleaners, which it's hard to find like a good cleaners out there. Luckily, I have a pretty decent cleaner, but the options for you there's very little options. So.
From what I gather, most of you guys are self-managed, and which I can't address. I've learned some things listening to Alex and others about self-management. So on the 3 that we're building for ourselves right now, we are going to self-manage or try it anyway. But the key to it is having people that'll do your maintenance work for you, a good cleaner, and that's easy for us. We have both of those things. We've probably got the best cleaner in all of Gatlinburg. She is awesome good. And on the cabins that we sell, we've got no connection to it, but my partner has a company that does maintenance for 16 major properties in Gatlinburg. And so if it's a cabin that we built, they will do maintenance for that. And on any of the cabins that we build, the lady that cleans for us has said that she will help out in cleaning or find someone to help out in cleaning. So those are your 2 biggest obstacles if you're going to be self-management. Any other questions? I would encourage you guys, if you're buying, whether you're buying new or you're buying something that's a few years old, maybe get them to give you a copy of the floor plan, the site plan, the foundation plan. You can get copies of where the city approved each step in the process, and just make sure that everything was done right to begin with for your own protection. So down the road, you don't get into something where you've got to spend a lot of money. And also I've heard of situations like this when people buy older properties and then they go to get a rental permit. Now that cabin may not meet codes. And so they have to go in and do some upgrades on the cabin in order for it to be, for them to get a rental permit. So that's something you have to watch out for in an existing cabin. Make sure that it will rent. Another question I get asked a whole lot is this, and like, how do I buy a new cabin? Because every time I want to go buy a new cabin, I can't find one, or by the time I find out about it, it's already sold. And agreed that that's an issue. And so kind of what we're doing right now, we're letting people, when they call us, like we've had multiple calls about a 4-4 with a pool that we're going to start in April. And we've had a lot of calls about that already. And we're just suggesting to people that maybe they send us an email and show that they've got pre-approval on the loans if they're having to borrow money, show financial statements that tell us if you've got the money to pay the difference between what the bank's going to loan and the price of the cabin, and ultimately ask for like a 5% deposit down. So if you can get in touch with a builder early on, and also, I mean, I personally I like to buy cabins with cash. And I know maybe you guys are doing financing and stuff like that, but as a builder, when we look at an all cash offer versus something that's contingent upon financing, I mean, it's pretty obvious which one we would take of those 2, obviously. But get in touch with the builder, and if you've got all the credentials there, I mean, that's the way to buy one, is to buy it really early on. I mean, at the beginning of construction or even before construction begins.
Hey, Don, you got a handful more questions, and then also
Sure.
Jazz Preet has his hand raised, but before he can turn his mute off or his mic on, someone asked, and you were already going into it, how can people get on the list to buy one of your builds? You suggested they email you. Is that the best way to do that?
Yeah, you can get in touch with us. And a lot of people said, would you let me know when this happens or that happens. And honestly, we get so many I can't. So what I tell people is just, it's fine for you to keep contacting me either by cell phone, text, or email. Absolutely. And Alex has my contact information, and I'm happy for him to share that with you if you would like, or I'll give it to you now. Alex, what's the best way?
I'll drop it in the chat right now.
Okay. Okay. So you can reach out to us via email or text, and I'll be happy to give you the information that we have right now, like on the upcoming cabin or anything like that.
Awesome. Cool. Jasper, you can take yourself off mute and ask your question, and then I'll jump back into the chat.
Hi, Dr. Wilson.
Hi.
Hi. Another dentist here.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And we own at Mountain Shadows, and we love it. We got a really good crew of maintenance people and cleaners. And so, ideally we are buying more, and ideally we would like to buy more and Mountain Shadows.
Okay.
Just wondering, we also have built in California. We build our own house, so we're really interested in building too.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering, what is the best way to buy lots? Like, are you interested in selling any lot?
No, not really. I wouldn't say that. You never say never. I wouldn't say that
Yes.
we would never do that, but we have plans to build on all of the lots that we have remaining in there, because we hold the option on all the, well, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3, I think. And I know that the owner of those is going to build. We hold the option on all the remaining lots.
Okay. So what is the best way to find out if there's any other lot available in Mountain Shadows or somewhere near?
I can tell you the answer to the question, because I know every lot that's not built on in there, and I know who owns it. So I think the answer to that is I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's fine. Thank you. But we will keep our eye open for yours. We are looking for 4-bedroom or more.
Okay. Sure. And you already own a cabin in Mountain Shadows?
Yes, and
okay.
A few nearby. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, great. Yeah, we will. We got 2 more about to start right now, and then a 3rd one after that. So yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Please stay in touch.
Yes.
How long is the build process again? I don't because some builders take 1 year, 2 years.
Oh, we're about, let's see, we're going to be about 6 months on this one that we're building. So that you saw, Alex, that's about a 6-month from the day we dug footers till the day we'll be finished.
Okay.
From a local or near local perspective, where would one pivot from Galinburg if that became too expensive or unavailable? For example, Disneyland is too costly or booked, I'll pivot to Universal Studios from a client or renter perspective.
Well, if you're familiar with the area, Gatlinburg is nestled right next to the Great Smoky Mountains, and that's where we like to build. After that is Pigeon Forge, and off springs of it, there's plenty of cabins out that way, and then Sevierville. So Pigeon Forge is a great market out there. The things that you find in Pigeon Forge, it's more games, more arcades, more attractions like that, whereas Gatlinburg has the mountains and they're right there next to the park. Gatlinburg has name recognition because when people say they're coming to the mountains, they usually use the term, I'm going to Gatlinburg. Even if they're going to Pigeon Forge or Sevierville, they still say we're going to Gatlinburg. But Pigeon Forge does a great job marketing themselves, and that's becoming a better known term. And of course, Dolly Parton is from Sevierville, so everybody kind of knows that, connected with Dolly and Dollywood. But so those are the areas that you can spin off. Highway 321, Mountain Shadows is just off of 321, very close to downtown. But the further you go out 321 towards Cosby in that direction is an area that's developing well out in there too. So there are plenty of spin-off areas that you can go to. Again, as I mentioned earlier, when you get in the county, then you have to watch for, you gotta have to rely on well water sometimes, septic tank, and propane gas.
Lenny,
Lenny
go
the
ahead.
boss. I know Lenny's ready to buy. So Lenny, what's up, man?
Dr. Wilson, how are you? Hey man, I'm
Fine.
taking a look at the property and it looks absolutely amazing. I mean, I really like how you did the porch and like the indoor porch, you know, and kind of how you did the wood there. I mean, that's hot. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
But I guess what makes you different, man? You know, you're saying that you're running like a 6-month clip, which is phenomenal to have a property, you know, built from the ground up, and you know, everyone else, it seemed like much double or like triple the time. I mean, what are you doing that's different than these other builders?
We tried organization. I think probably anybody that's a dentist has to be kind of highly organized in order to run a practice. And so running a construction job is more an organizational skill than it is that I have the ability to drive a nail or climb a ladder. I mean, I'm 70 years old. And so, you know, you're not going to find me on top of the roof, I guarantee you. But it's organizational skills. And so when we start, my goal is to never have a day that something doesn't happen on that property. No days of just dead still, nothing happening. So my job is to orchestrate it all and to get the guys there in the right order at the right time and have my materials lined up and that sort of thing. So we've had, I think, a few days where nothing happened on this property because of snow and ice in the area. Other than that, I think we've had something going on every single day.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
I know this is probably going to get asked, but you said get a hold of the builder as soon as possible. Is there any way someone could come in there and do some custom builds or anything or requests?
We will not custom build, and I'll explain to you why too. We build these cabins the way we want to from the beginning. And when you get into a custom build situation, oh, that's so difficult. It can take a lot longer, you know, and people say, well, can we not just change this or that? Or it kind of messes up the flow of things. So we sort of build the cabins, we build like we want them. And then at the end of the project, I mean, if you like it, buy the cabin. And if you don't like it, don't buy the cabin. With that said, I have a good friend that does a lot of custom building kind of thing. And, you know, when he builds a cabin, literally, I've seen them, some of them take 2 years. And it's because it's a slower process, you know, and people change their mind about things and they want to add this or take away that. But yes, you can find people that will custom build in Gatlinburg. Absolutely.
Yeah, but they need to start making money now. See, like all these people want to do all these custom builds. None of that crap matters. The cabin's going to make money right now. Buy the cabin right away and get it. So
yeah, that you're spot on, Alex. I've quoted you on that one many times. It's just do it. Just do it.
Is appreciation of the purchase price the primary revenue generator in the buy new, sell in less than 5 years model?
Well, yes, it's definitely going to appreciate, and you're going to have you'll have the rental income accompanied by the appreciation. And so to me, it's a win-win situation. You're going to own property that will definitely appreciate. You know, when cabins started selling for $300 a square foot or $325 a square foot in Gatlinburg, people's, you're crazy. They'll never, ever, ever go any higher than that. Well, we just sold our last one for about $400 a square foot. We already have an offer for $475 a square foot on the one that we're about to build before we start construction. So yes, will they continue to appreciate? Yes, they will, for sure.
Yeah, I've experienced that. Like I live in Van Nuys. It's a suburb of Los Angeles, California, and it's not even a nice suburb of LA. And I bought a home here like 5 years ago and it's appreciated $250,000. And it was a brand new build townhome. And I have new builds over in Atlanta, Georgia. And within the year I've owned them, they've like skyrocketed appreciation, like, you know, over 100,000 for them together. So new builds, I think, catch the trend of being developed in up and coming areas. And it drives the price. So I have definitely seen that even in other markets.
Well, you know, sometimes I hear, we keep up with numbers in Gatlinburg, and sometimes I hear where people are paying the same thing for a property that's 15 or 20 years old, that they could have bought a brand new cabin for that. And now they're saddled with maintenance issue and rehab issues and things like that. And so they're going to wind up having too much money, and it's going to be hard for them to make that appreciation because of the money they're going to have to spend.
Yeah. Can you share the name of the maintenance company that you use?
Yes, Cody Farmer is my business partner, and Cody has HOA Management Company, which is located in Sevierville. And I'm not sure the name of their company that they own that does the property management, but that'll give you enough information to get in touch with them. HOA Management in Sevierville, Tennessee. It's on 520 Grace Avenue.
Awesome. And then do new builds typically offer any type of warranty?
We do. And I think probably most do. I think most people offer a 1-year warranty on defective material or labor. And sometimes we do things beyond that. The cabin that Alex referred to recently, Matt, that kind of got pulled loose on the front of the cabin because we had a big snow, and the snow did it. It wasn't defective workmanship or materials, but we fixed it for the lady because we had a crew working there, and it didn't cost us much to take care of it for her. And yes, it wasn't a maintenance issue that we had to cover, but hey, we just did. And so usually a 1-year warranty. And then on major things like HVAC units and things like that, the manufacturer probably has, and the sub that installed it, we have a great HVAC guy. They will warranty it for up to 5 years.
Do you require construction loans?
No, we're fully funded, so we don't have to have a construction loan. What we do ask, though, if we're going to enter into an agreement early on in construction, and we're happy not to do that. We're happy to build it, and then when we're about 95% completed, put it on the market. And I mean, it'll be gone in like a day or two, even doing that. But if we enter into a contract with someone early on, we like a 5% deposit. And I don't mean earnest money, I mean a deposit, because earnest money really means nothing. There are all kinds of ways that people can back out on that. So if we're going to build a cabin and we're going to take it off of the market, it's not available to anyone at any price, we're pulling it off the market, then we want the potential buyer to have money invested so that we know they'll be there at the end of construction.
Someone asked, can we hire you to build a cabin if we already own a lot?
No, we don't do that. That would become a custom build, and we just don't want to get into that. I'm sorry. It's fun the way we do it, and I'm afraid if I had to do a custom build for somebody, it wouldn't be fun anymore.
And how much have supply chain issues impacted build times and costs?
Could you say that again, please?
How much have supply chain issues impacted build times and costs?
Well, there for a while, after we completed the one that Alex saw next door to the one we're working on now that Matt Taylor manages, prices were going up so quickly. We just kind of pulled over on the side of the road for about 6 months to see what was going to happen, because we couldn't begin to quote anything to anyone at that point. And then the prices leveled off, and then they started coming back down. So yes, it does cost us more per square foot to build today. It's a more stable market right now. Availability is a bigger issue for us. So we start looking with our suppliers. That's part of the thing that someone asked a while ago about the building time. And it has changed it for some people, but we try to organize and we anticipate. Like, I didn't wait till the day of to order my cabinets. I ordered my cabinets months ago when we knew the measurements, and they've been sitting in the warehouse there now for several weeks, and they're going to be delivered Monday. We're ready for them next Monday. They'll be delivered next Monday. So you kind of have to anticipate delivery time a little earlier right now. That's a biggie right there.
With that, are you pretty much building like the same floor plan so that way you kind of know like what the kitchen countertops are going to be like
Mhm.
and you know what size table, what size chairs or whatever?
Exactly. We're working off of basically a single floor plan for a few reasons, but like the cabin that you saw that was completed, that's a 2-2. The one that you walked in, we had under construction, that's a 3-3 with an open loft, and it could have actually been a 4-4 had we chosen. The next one we're going to build beside it will be a 4-4. One of the bedrooms will be, it'll have a bath, but it'll also have an open loft with bunk beds in it, and it will have a pool in it. So we're using the same footprint over and over, and that helps us to calculate our materials and kind of when we'll need things. And there's a uniformity in the look too. Someone mentioned earlier that they had a cabin in Mountain Shadows, and in Mountain Shadows, there's a lot of diversity in the styles of the cabins. I kind of like uniformity, and so our lots are contiguous with each other, and we're using the same stain and a similar look on the outside. They're not identical inside, but they look pretty close to the same on the outside.
Keep building those. Those things will make money. Those things are so nice.
Well, we have, we're convenient to downtown, and we put a little extra in all of them, and we have a nice walkway around to that back deck that someone mentioned they were looking at that a while ago. And we have a part of the back deck that's covered, so you're out of the weather, but we have a part that's uncovered because you can then put a gas grill there. There are codes in Gatlinburg about gas grills and not having a roof above them and things like that. So that's why we've left a little area, and we put a 4-foot walkway around so you can go from the front of the cabin to the back without having to go through the cabin. And those are just some little extras that make it really nice.
Someone asked if the Zoom is going to be recorded, and yes, it's recorded. I record it every Monday night and I upload it to my YouTube channel, and then I share it also to the Healthcare Professionals Investing in Real Estate group. So all the Zoom meetups are on there. And Don, someone asked, what is the price range of the cabins you are typically building?
I always kind of figure things in square footage. I mean, that's a common question I get asked in Gatlinburg. How much does a 3-bedroom cabin cost? How many square feet does it have? That's kind of important to know. And what extras does it have? The one we just sold was right at 400 a square foot. The one with the pool is going to probably be 475 a square foot. So you can figure it from there. The one that we just sold was a 3-3, 25 square feet. It was right under $1 million. It was 997, 735. The 4-4 with the pool is going to be just under 1.2 at, I think it came out 1,199,735, I think, something like that.
What do you think those, because I know those numbers scare a lot of people on this call right now. I mean, and I always tell people to focus in on the amount of revenue that the property is going to generate. So what do you think, like a ballpark figure, what we're looking at with that 3-bedroom that I visited, the one that was next to Matt Taylor, what do you think that would generate in gross revenue?
I think it would conservatively do about 100,000, 95 to 100,000, and properly managed and marketed could do 125 to 135 maybe.
Okay, cool.
And I think you add a 4th bedroom in there and a pool like on the one next door, and you're going to be up in the 175 range, something like that, probably.
Yeah. And this was a nice location. I mean, we're like, what, 10, 15 minutes drive straight to downtown Gatlinburg.
Yeah, downtown. From Mountain Shadows, I can go to downtown Gatlinburg in under 10 minutes, easy.
Right, yeah. What type of financing are your buyers using? Are they getting 10% down, loan, cash, something else?
I don't know. I don't get into that. We were fortunate in that we could pay cash for the cabins that we've done. And so I don't do financing. I sleep better at night when I know it's paid for. And I like it that way, but I completely understand that most people are going to own. There's different ways of thinking. Some people think I'd rather own 10 cabins and have a mortgage on them than own one cabin and own it outright. And So I'm not sure what they're doing exactly. I hear 10%, I hear 20%. I think the one that we're selling right now, I think they were putting 20% in themselves, I believe is what they told me. So I don't have any good tips for you on finance, and Alex is probably way smarter on that subject than I.
No, I don't think I'm smarter than anyone on anything, but
I think
more
you are, Alex.
resources.
I've got nothing
What's
against borrowing money and leveraging. Believe me, I came out of dental school with a negative net worth of about $250,000.
Oh my gosh.
You know, you start out and then you just have to build it back through the years.
Yeah. Lenny, what's up, Ben?
All right,
She's
man,
got an offer for you right now.
I do. But you mentioned earlier about the older cabins and you know, you're going to start seeing, you know, potentially some issues with them. What was around that year? You said that you probably can, so if you buy a new cabin, you know, when can you start to expect to have some you know, some serious maintenance issues to take care of?
Well, log cabins, if it is a log cabin, are rather unique creatures. It depends on how well people have taken care of them through the years. On ours, we're going to have somebody in there to pressure wash it and maybe put a clear coat on it about every 2 to 3 years. Some people they'll build a cabin and they'll let it fade and the logs crack, and then in order to really make it look nice, you probably are going to have to go in and sandblast it and get all of that off and start staining all over again. If somebody has maintained the cabin really, really well, it might not be so bad. But when you start crossing the 10-year line, things are going to start breaking. HVAC units, generally speaking, you're lucky if you get 15 years out of one, you know. So a 15-year-old cabin is going to have a faded roof, probably. It's going to have cracks and fades in the logs. It might have some foundation issues. It might have mold and mildew issues in the crawl space if it has a crawl space. So those are all things that you've got to look at. And that's why I like new. And if I buy a cabin new or build a cabin, in our case, in 5 years, everything's great. And I have seen cabins that were only 5 years old that look pretty rough because there was zero maintenance on those cabins. It was just like, they're making money for me and that's all I care about, and they didn't maintain them. So a 5-year cabin could show a lot of wear and tear, especially inside. And also I would tell you guys, I mean, you know, we're sitting here talking about 3 and 4 bedroom cabins. There's nothing wrong with owning a 1-bedroom cabin, nothing at all. They generate a lot of money. And there's a shortage of them actually in Gatlinburg. So, you know, a lot of couples come there and they don't want to rent a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom and pay for all that when there's just a couple. So, you know, as Alex said, don't let these numbers overwhelm you, because you can buy 1 and 2-bedroom cabins. In fact, my wife and I are building 2-bedroom cabins right now with a 2.5 bath for ourselves for rental. And they don't have pools in them, but they will rent.
Hey, anyone else have any questions they want to jump on in here? We're getting to that 7 o'clock mark. Any other questions in the chat there you see, Savannah?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah, so awesome. I always learn so much at these meetups, and I feel like it just further cements that coming in as a new investor, which I think there's a lot of new investors on the call, is that you're going to deal with headaches in this business, and it's what headaches you want to deal with. Are you willing to oversee construction and buy something and push equity into it? If you are, if you can handle those headaches, then go for it, do it. You know, if your headache is going to be investing across the country, if you can't handle those headaches, then maybe you need to invest in your backyard. You know, different issues will come in this business. It's just a part of the business. It's just kind of deciding like, I think your different skill sets, I mean, even Don said, like, running a dental practice, now he's going out here and doing this construction business. He's used his skill set that he has to go out and further his investing skill set. And I mean, I bring similar skill sets to my multifamily syndications. And I know, Alex, like what you do in your short-term rentals, it's like really playing on your good skills and then hiring out for anything else that you don't necessarily like doing or you're not good at, because there's plenty of people that you can hire to take care of those things and the headaches that you don't want to deal with. So super awesome. I learned a lot as always. We are recording this. It will be available on our YouTube. Alex and I host this every single Monday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We bring on different people here. It's usually short-term rental because we got a lot of short-term rental junkies in the house, but we do different markets. We've had Palm Spring in California last week. We had a ER doctor talking about in Carolinas or Alabama. I can't remember.
Charleston. Yeah.
Charleston. Yeah. So a lot of good topics, and we're always open to learning about different things. We have networking events also that we've gotten really good feedback in. So we're trying to kind of bring some more of those into this group. But if there's any market that you guys love diving into or a different strategy that we're not hitting that you guys would love to learn more about, like reach out to Alex and myself. Like we're looking to book people on these meetups that we think you guys will get benefits from, and us as well. Like we have some guilty pleasure in this for sure, bringing on people we want to learn from, but we're always open to new suggestions. And we really just appreciate everyone being here. We know that this group has really grown and you guys are all sharing it with the other healthcare professionals. And that's really why we're here every Monday night. You know, we're looking to network with people and learn from people who are doing great things in the business. And there's a lot of cool, great people doing great things here. So thank you. Thank you so much. Alex, do you want to say anything? I don't know who we have next week.
Yeah, so if you guys need Dr. Wilson's contact, go ahead and text me. I could share his contact with you. It's also in the chat. If you guys hit the 3 dots there and save the chat, his info will be there too. Next week's going to be really good. We're going to be talking about 1031 exchanges, and we got a really, really good 1031 exchange guy. He's done 2 1031 exchanges for me. His name is Dave Foster. He's one of the best in the business. So if you guys are interested or have no idea what a 1031 exchange is and how it can help you, please join. But anyway, that's going to be next week. So, but hey, thank you, Dr. Wilson, one last time. So much.
Thank you. And I want to commend all of you guys for tuning into this earlier in your careers than I did. I wish to goodness that I had been smart enough to do that early on in my career instead of later, but kudos to you guys for doing that early on. That's great.
Awesome. All right, you guys. Well, everyone have a great night. We'll see you next Monday.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.